I'm really delighted to be speaking with Gemma Burford, who's in the UK today. She is an author and a scholar and has an interesting background, having married into a Maasai family.
When an Oxford graduate fell in love with a Maasai warrior, the world watched in disbelief. 2 decades later, her life looks nothing like you'd expect. Her story is one of courage, culture shock, and unimaginable transformation. Join us as we unravel the twists, truths, and triumphs of a journey that defied every expectation. How Gemma met her husband. Gemma met Lesar Ole Nungila, a proud Maasai warrior, in the remote village of Elui, northern Tanzania. Lesar was born into a big family, growing up with 16 siblings and a lot of extended relatives, living the traditional Maasai lifestyle. Even though he had limited formal education, Lesar was a strong protector of his community, defending livestock from wild predators with just a spear and a knife. Their first meeting happened at an arts and crafts fair in Arusha, where Lesar showcased a traditional Maasai dance. Even though they spoke different languages, Gemma didn't know Swahili, and Lesar hardly spoke English. They felt an instant connection. Gemma's initial attraction to Lesar was straightforward, but destiny had bigger plans in store. After going back to Oxford to complete her studies, Gemma couldn't stop thinking about Lesar and the people she had encountered in Tanzania. She got involved with a charity called Angion, which is focused on preserving Maasai culture, and began learning Swahili. Lesar, on his part, picked up some English, which allowed their conversations to grow beyond just simple greetings. Their mutual interest in natural medicine and community development drew them closer together. Gemma even hiked to Lesar's village, where his family welcomed her warmly despite their cultural differences. Although Gemma initially tried to move on by dating someone else, her feelings for Lesar only intensified. A frightening hijacking incident on a flight to Tanzania made Gemma realize where her heart truly belonged. She recognized that her bond with Lesar was deeper than she had allowed herself to acknowledge. When fate brought her back to Tanzania for a longer project, Gemma finally revealed her love for Lesar. When Gemma Burford went to do charity work in a far-off African village, she never imagined she would meet her future husband there. When Gemma informed her parents about her plans to settle down and live with a Maasai warrior, they felt it was necessary to come and see him for themselves. Gemma's dad recalls that it was honestly horrific. It felt like stepping back 150 years. It was just like what Livingston and Stanley experienced. Gemma's dad meant well, but he doesn't always choose his words wisely. Lesakar's dad was not happy about the relationship at first, and neither were Gemma's parents. They were worried that the couple would be away and wouldn't be around as much. They also feared that Lesakar had other intentions. Gemma had a bad experience with a guy from Tanzania before, but she felt this was different. It was built on friendship. When people hear Maasai warrior, they assume he must have swept her off her feet. But really, we had a solid working relationship and a great friendship. Her father didn't warm up to Lesakar right away. He thought he was full of himself. Lesakar was just following the Maasai customs on how to treat your in-laws. You're meant to be very formal and respectful. Her father felt like he didn't want to talk to him. However, they later got along well. Gemma found out she was pregnant at 25. Lesakar's family was eager for them to get married before the baby arrived, but mostly they were just happy about the pregnancy. Gemma stated that in Maasai culture, there's a huge emphasis on having kids, and they were worried that since she hadn't had any by 25, there must be something wrong with her. Even as she adjusted to a new way of life, Gemma found herself drawn to something beyond marriage, serving the people who welcomed her. What did she do to give back to the Maasai community? Let's find out. Gemma's work in Maasai. Gemma initially encountered some resistance from the village, but she eventually gained the community's support through her commitment and compassion. Together, Gemma and Lazar advocated for social issues, such as women's rights and the elimination of harmful cultural practices. They established a school that merged Maasai traditions with formal education, ensuring the preservation of indigenous knowledge. One of their key missions was to combat female genital mutilation, FGM, a practice that is deeply ingrained in Maasai culture. They had been involved in several charitable initiatives, such as raising awareness to end female genital mutilation and establishing a secondary school for children in the village. These efforts coincided with around 30 girls fleeing their homes and traveling long distances to reach the school in order to avoid genital mutilation and/or being compelled to marry. Initially, they had to sleep on the floor, but now a dormitory has been constructed for them, thanks to the fundraising work of Gemma and Lesikar. Gemma worked to inform the community about the risks associated with FGM and proposed alternative rites of passage that did not involve harmful cutting. Additionally, they launched a safari company to showcase Maasai culture to the world, fostering understanding and respect. Years into their marriage, the cultural differences they once embraced began to weigh heavily. Was their bond strong enough to survive the clash of cultures? Let's find out. The divorce. Even though they achieved a lot together, their marriage came to an end in 2010, for reasons that aren't very clear. There are rumors that Lazar wanted to marry another woman, which is a normal practice in Maasai culture, but Gemma couldn't go along with that. After they split, Gemma went back to the UK with her daughters, but still kept connections to Tanzania. 21 years after making that big change in her life, Gemma is known as a strong supporter of traditional medicine and sustainability. She helps lead a worldwide project focused on traditional health systems and has gained recognition as an author and healer on an international level. Her daughter Lucia is following her mom's path, working as a photographer and advocating for youth. Her marriage may have ended, but her time among the Maasai opened her eyes to a complex way of life. What makes Maasai culture so unique and so challenging for outsiders? Let's find out. The Maasai culture. The Maasai are a Nilotic ethnic group that lives in northern, central, and southern Kenya, as well as northern Tanzania, close to the African Great Lakes region.
The Maasai tribe, found in East Africa, specifically in Kenya and Tanzania, the Maasai are a Nilotic semi-nomadic ethnic group that has stuck to its old tradition.
Their native tongue is the Maasai language, which is a Nilotic language related to Dinka, Kalenjin, and Nuer. Most Maasai people, except for some elders in rural areas, speak the official languages of Kenya and Tanzania, Swahili, and English. The traditional lifestyle of the Maasai revolves around their cattle, which are their main source of food. In a culture that is patriarchal and views women as property, a man's wealth is determined by the number of cattle, wives, and children he has. Having a herd of 50 cattle is seen as respectable, and the more wives and children a man has, the better. If a man has a lot of one, but not the other, he is considered poor. All of the Maasai's food needs are fulfilled by their cattle. They consume their meat, drink their milk every day, and occasionally drink their blood. Bulls, goats, and lambs are killed for meat during special events and ceremonies. Although the Maasai's way of life has historically relied on their cattle, they have recently started depending on other foods like sorghum, rice, potatoes, and cabbage, which they refer to as goat leaves, as their cattle numbers have decreased. A common myth about the Maasai is that every young man must kill a lion before he can be circumcised and become an adult. While lion hunting used to be a tradition, it is now illegal in East Africa. However, lions are still hunted if they attack Maasai livestock. Still, Taking down a lion is seen as a significant achievement and brings a person fame in the community. Maasai woman with stretched earlobes. Piercing and stretching earlobes is a tradition among the Maasai, similar to other tribes, and both men and women sport metal hoops in their elongated earlobes. Various items have been used for piercing and stretching, such as thorns, twigs, stones, pieces of elephant tusks, and even empty film canisters. Women also adorn their earlobes and the upper part of their ears with different types of beaded jewelry. For Maasai men, circumcision is a rite of passage from boyhood to manhood. Women also undergo circumcision. This belief and practice are not exclusive to the Maasai. In rural Kenya, a study conducted in 1991 and 1992 examined 95 children aged 6 months to 2 years, revealing that 87% had undergone the removal of one or more baby canine tooth buds. Among a slightly older group, ages 3 to 7, 72% of the 111 children studied were found to be missing either their lower or upper baby canines. Traditionally, the Maasai perform detailed rites of passage that involve surgical genital mutilation to transition children into adulthood. The Ma term for circumcision, emirata, is used for this ritual for both boys and girls. This procedure is usually carried out by the elders, who utilize a sharp knife and makeshift bandages made from cattle hide. In the male ceremony, the focus is on the removal of the foreskin. During this ceremony, the boy is expected to undergo the operation without showing any signs of pain. If he does express discomfort, it brings shame upon him, even if just for a short time. It's crucial that the boy remains still, as any sudden movements or cries could lead to mistakes by the elder, which might result in serious, lifelong scars, dysfunction, and pain. Young girls also experience female genital mutilation as part of a complex rite of passage known as emwatare, which marks their transition into adulthood through ritual mutilation, followed by early arranged marriages. The Maasai hold the belief that female genital mutilation is essential, and men from the community may refuse to marry any woman who has not undergone this procedure, considering her either unworthy of marriage or deserving of a significantly lower bride price. In Eastern Africa, even well-educated women, such as Lina Kilimo, can be seen as immature if they are uncircumcised. Agnes Pareyo, a Maasai activist, is working against this practice. Recently, there have been rare instances where the female rite of passage has replaced excision with a cutting with words ceremony that includes singing and dancing instead. However, despite legal changes and educational efforts, this practice remains deeply rooted, highly esteemed, and almost universally followed by members of the Maasai culture. When a child turns 3 moons old, they receive their name, and their head is shaved clean, except for a small tuft of hair that looks like a cockade, stretching from the back of the neck to the forehead. In the Maasai community, only the warriors wear long hair, which they style into thin braids. The transition from warrior to junior elder happens during a big event called Unoto. At this gathering, the long hair of the warriors is cut off because elders are required to keep their hair short. Warriors who refrain from having relations with women who haven't gone through the emuatare ceremony are particularly respected at the Unoto event. This act symbolizes the woman's healing. 2 days before boys undergo circumcision, their heads are shaved. When warriors become elders at Unoto, their long braided hair is also shaved off. Maasai music is known for its unique rhythms, created by a group of singers harmonizing, while a song leader, or Olaranyani, carries the melody. Unlike many other African tribes, the Maasai often incorporate drone polyphony into their music. Women sing lullabies, hum songs, and celebrate their sons through music. The Namba, which features a call-and-response style, includes repeating nonsensical phrases, simple melodies, and phrases that follow a descending scale after each verse sung, with singers replying to their own verses. When a group of Maasai women come together, they engage in singing and dancing with one another. Unoto, the ceremony marking a warrior's transition to adulthood, can last for 10 days or more, filled with singing, dancing, and rituals. The Il Udokalani warriors perform a march past, and the Adumu, also known as Aigus, which is often called the jumping dance by those outside the Maasai culture.
The warriors are down there, they are coming for dancing and singing and show the love and share the happiness of the ceremony. So
both Adumu and Aigus are Maya verbs that mean to jump, with Adumu specifically meaning to jump up and down in a dance. Traditionally, the Maasai diet included raw meat, raw milk, honey, and fresh blood from cattle. It's important to note that the cattle raised by the Maasai are of the Zebu breed. Most of the milk is consumed as fermented milk or buttermilk, which is a byproduct of making butter. The amount of milk consumed is quite high by any measure. The Maasai also raise goats and sheep, including the red Maasai sheep, along with their more valued cattle. Even though fruits are often eaten as snacks, they play a significant role in the diet of children and women who take care of cattle, as well as Morans living in the bush. The Maasai people have a long history of using their surroundings to create medicines, and many continue to do so because Western treatments can be very expensive. These traditional medicines come from various sources like trees, shrubs, stems, and roots. They can be prepared in different ways, such as boiling them in soups, which helps with digestion and purifying the blood. Some of these natural remedies are also effective in treating or preventing illnesses. Additionally, the Maasai incorporate herbs into their meals to prevent stomach issues and aid digestion. The practice of using plant-based medicine is still a vital aspect of Maasai culture. Maasai clothing represents membership in their ethnic group, a pastoral lifestyle, and an individual's social status. This clothing helps determine the roles people play within the tribe. Jewelry can also indicate a person's gender, relationship status, and age. Traditional Maasai attire serves as a way to identify tribal affiliation and convey symbolism. For instance, young men wear black for several months after their circumcision. In the 1960s, the Maasai started to transition from using animal skins, calf hides, and sheep skins to commercial cotton fabric. In 1951, British colonial officials removed all Maasai people from the Serengeti National Park and relocated them to areas within and around the Ngorongoro Conservation Area, NCA. As the population grew, the Maasai faced challenges like losing cattle to disease and having limited rangelands due to new park boundaries and competition from other tribes. This situation forced them to find new ways to support themselves. Many Maasai started growing maize and other crops to survive, which was seen negatively in their culture. The introduction of farming to the Maasai came from displaced Warusha and Wameru women who married Maasai men. In 1975, the Ngorongoro Conservation Area prohibited farming, pushing the tribe to engage in Tanzania's economy. They had to sell animals and traditional medicines to afford food. The farming ban was lifted in 1992, allowing cultivation to become a significant part of Maasai life again. However, park boundaries and land privatization continued to restrict the grazing areas for Maasai livestock. Over the years, various initiatives have tried to assist the Maasai people. These efforts aim to preserve Maasai traditions while promoting modern education for their children. New job opportunities for the Maasai include farming, business, and wage work in both public and private sectors. Many Maasai have also transitioned from a nomadic lifestyle to roles in commerce and government. In June 2022, reports emerged that the Maasai community was being targeted with live ammunition and tear gas in Tanzania as part of a government plan to take a piece of Maasai land for elite private luxury development. Lawyers, human rights organizations, and activists who exposed this issue claimed that Tanzanian security forces attempted to forcibly evict the indigenous Maasai from their ancestral land to create a luxury game reserve by Otterlo Business Corporation, OBC, for the ruling royals of the United Arab Emirates. As of June 18, 2022, around 30 Maasai individuals were injured, and at least one person was unalived by the Tanzanian Government Field Force Unit, FFU, during protests against the government's plans to designate 1,500 square kilometers of land as a game reserve. This action is said to violate a 2018 East African Court of Justice (EACJ) injunction regarding the land dispute, according to local activists. By reclassifying the land as a game reserve, officials intended to systematically take over Maasai settlements and grazing areas, as warned by experts. This isn't the first instance of Maasai land being encroached upon. Big game hunting companies, along with the government, have long targeted these communities. The attacks in 2022 represent a new escalation, resulting in over 150,000 Maasai.
Last year, we covered the eviction of the Maasai people from Tanzania. We talked about how they were forced out of their own land,
being displaced from the Loliondo and Ngorongoro regions, as reported by the United Nations. A hunting concession in Loliondo is owned by OBC, a company allegedly connected to the wealthy Emirati royal family, according to Tanzanian lawyers, environmentalists, and human rights advocates. Anuradha Mittal, the executive director of the Oakland Institute, an environmental think tank, noted that OBC is not just a typical safari company, it operates specifically for the royal family. A 2019 United Nations report characterized OBC as a luxury game hunting company based in the UAE, which received a hunting license from the Tanzanian government in 1992. This license allowed the UAE royal family to organize private hunting trips while simultaneously denying the Maasai access to their ancestral lands and water for cattle herding. When asked for comments, the UAE government declined to provide any statements. Meanwhile, OBC responded to the situation without addressing the alleged connections to Emirati royals, asserting that there is no eviction in Loliondo, and describing it as a reserve land protected area owned by the government. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.